Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody out in YouTube and live streaming world. This is Badass College Apps with Admissions Mom. I'm Carolyn / Admissions Mom. And Badass College Apps, where we talk about college admissions and then we stop and take a breath. And so before I introduce my guest, I'm just going to have everybody do that with me. We're just going to all take a big breath. And then let it go. Because I do that for me because I'm nervous being on screen. So I'm going to introduce you to first to my fabulous assistant, Carly. Carly helps me out in all kinds of ways, but especially here, kind of doing the moderating and seeing what's going on and helping with some backstage stuff. So Carly, you want to introduce yourself and say anything about you would like to say?
I'm Carly. I'm from Oregon, or currently living in Oregon. I'm a freshman in college, and I moderate A2C.
Yeah. So Carly is like our fabulous, like queen moderator of Applying to College. If any of you are from our Applying to College on Reddit, you have probably encountered Carly. And she's also like, talk about Discord a little bit.
I also own the Discord server where we host events. We just chat and we hang out. A lot of people get to know each other on there, and we just form a community. And everyone, yeah.
And it's about college admissions, right?
Yeah, it's about college admissions.
Yeah.
It's kind of a branch of A2C. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to kind of just talk to other people about college admissions, in addition to our Applying to College, you could also go over to the Discord and talk there. So, okay. And then we also have, I'm just going to go around the circle here. So we also have Lily here with us. And Lily, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Lily. I am a senior. I live in Houston. And I'm one of the people that Carolyn has helped immensely with my college admissions.
So glad to have you here, Lily. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then we have Mia. Hey, Mia, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mia. I go to high school in sunny Southern California. I'm hoping to kind of get into public policy or education policy. And I don't have social media, but if you'd like to follow my Spotify, I spend way too much time there at Mia as Me Christine.
Oh, cool. Do you have music there?
Yes, I have so many playlists, so many things to share. You can learn more about me there than pretty much anywhere else.
Ah, very cool. That's great. So I see that we have one person in the chat. And any of you who might join us in the chat later or come on in the chat now, if you'd like to introduce yourself, we'd love to see kind of who you are and where you're from if you want to talk to us in the chat, or you can just kind of stay back there. And I don't want to make you run away, so I don't want to put any pressure on you. So I am Carolyn. I am also known as Admissions Mom. You can find me on Reddit as Admissions Mom. You can find me on Instagram as Admissions Mom. You can find me on Twitter as Admissions Mom. And I don't know. I think that's it. And that's kind of it. So we're here tonight to spend a little bit of time talking about being a second semester senior and what that is and how it feels to you, and like the kind of this thought of senioritis and where that is. And so Lily and Mia, and I just wanted to kind of thank you so much for being here with me today to talk about it, because I can talk a ton about senioritis and what I think it is, but it's been a really long time since I was a high school senior. Almost 40 years. Oh, it has been 40 years. So that's a really long time. And I love to hear, your perspectives of what it's like. So just kind of like, let's just get started a little bit. And you tell me, and Mia, I'll start with you. A little bit about kind of what it feels like right now. And we were chatting a little bit before and backstage, and you were saying that like this whole thing of like letting go of control has been a little tricky for you. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, exactly. So I've spent like the last 6 months just kind of focusing almost exclusively on college apps. Though I've maintained my extracurriculars, it always comes back to writing those essays or getting those applications in, adding colleges to my list. And so it's kind of taken over my world. And now that I've pressed submit on all of my colleges, I'm kind of in a weird place now because the teachers are cognizant of our deadlines being passed, and so the work is back. The pressure on myself is back to excel as I was in my extracurriculars. So it's definitely hard to kind of balance that control and kind of go back into the space I was before any of this chaos started, while also still waiting for decisions to come out. And so it's an interesting place, and it's definitely something that I think has been helped a lot by spending a lot of time with like friends, which is not something I've got to do a lot over summer. And so I like having a community around me who was kind of going through the same thing right now. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting place to be and not something I've really experienced for much of my high school career.
Yeah. And what about the feeling of like you have no control now of your applications, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so everything was perfecting essays, whether I finished them in August and still wanted to keep working on them now, just making tiny little grammar changes, word choice changes, and now it's all out of my hands. And so it's a blessing and a curse at the same time because while I'm not currently stressing over it because I have a couple of months to think about other things before decisions really come out, it's also scary to not have any more control over the process. And I've put my best foot forth, but I don't know what that's going to mean for me. So it's scary.
Yeah, it's really scary, just like letting go, right? And like,
Yeah.
and I think for a lot of kids, you've not only been working on it for the last 6 months, but you've been building up to this for the last 4 years, right? Like thinking about your extracurriculars, thinking about your courses you're going to take and what you want to do in the summer and imagining yourself, in the future. So it's kind of like, oh, wow, like everything I have to do for that is pretty much over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Lily? You were talking about how you're just trying to put it out of your head because you have no control, right?
Yeah. So yeah, my experience, which I from what I've heard from my friends at other schools, is not like super common, but like my school has like definitely just like kept up the work pretty much the whole time.
Wow.
Which was kind of good and bad. It's good in the sense that I don't get that feeling that Mia was describing about like I mean, I like if I think about college, I'm like, oh, it's kind of scary that I don't have control over like exactly what's going to happen. But
Mhm.
there's other stuff that I'm thinking about doing for school. So that's kind of getting pushed off until like I actually get accepted and I figure out. I look at the colleges that I've gotten into and I figure out like where I want to go. Just which one's my favorite, basically. So I guess right now I'm not worried about that. But yeah, it's definitely a very weird feeling, like having like my parents have told me all the time, and my teachers have told me a lot about how everything is about like preparing for college, and like my mom offered to take me visiting colleges in like 10th and ninth grade, and it's like not having to work on that anymore. It feels like almost out of nowhere. It's a very strange feeling. It's like good and I don't know. It's just weird. Like it's not something that I've felt anytime before.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of leads me to this thought about some seniors kind of start getting this feeling of lethargy or like just a huge letdown, kind of otherwise known as senioritis. Like, and I don't think it's this like lack of care. I don't think it's like I don't care anymore because I'm done. I think it's more of just like I've pushed so hard and had all this adrenaline going towards this moment. And now I got there and like I don't have this adrenaline going anymore. So it's kind of just like an exhaustion, of just like, oh my God, like I just want to take a break. Right. Um, and so I want to talk a little bit about that. First of all, have you started to feel any of that or not? Maybe you haven't. It's still kind of early in the semester. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Mia. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's like I feel like the school year is kind of in a constant state of flux because there's so many highs and lows to kind of the whole process, whether it's with early decisions or whether it's just not knowing kind of what the next day is going to look like. Am I going to hear back from somewhere? Am I not going to be able to afford somewhere? So it's kind of crazy, kind of that process of understanding so much. Like it's really the first time that it's all been out of our control in such a weird place. And so it kind of feels like what's the point? You kind of had this sense of like nihilism and like, what am I doing now? Like, whether I put my all or just 80% into an extracurricular involvement, is it in the long run going to matter that much? And so it's kind of weird to have that sense of discipline without like working towards a concrete goal for the first time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I would say it definitely helps to keep, as I've said in the last time, but what's helped the most for me is having the same people who are kind of working towards the same thing, have understand or are in different places of senioritis rather, to kind of push each other, honestly, just support each other in the process, whether that is because they're killing it still or because they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's helped me the most.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that before I just kind of forgot. But
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
having a community, like friends and stuff that are in a similar space and like very supportive and just going through the same thing is super helpful. Like it's so much easier for me to get through it when I notice that like it's a community thing, like my friends are going through it and we're all being supportive of each other and stuff like that, as opposed to like if I felt like it was just me, it would be like very daunting. But it's
Yeah.
a lot more manageable with people you can talk to and relate to about it.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think friends and the support are all part of this. And maybe kind of in a way, you have more time to reconnect with friends that you probably haven't had for a while. And then also this, I liked what you said, Mia, too, about like the first time you're like really not working towards a goal, right? Like you're working for yourself in a way instead of like, I got to do this for college. It's more like, oh, maybe I want to do well. Maybe I want to do this, instead of thinking it
Absolutely.
always has to be a goal. Those are great. I'm going to pause for a minute and I'm going to put a comment in the chat to say hello to our people in case they would like to comment back. So, hello, chat. What about you? Oh, hey, chat. Did it go? Yep. Hey, those of you in the chat and watching, what about you? Have you had any issues with senioritis or things happening with your second semester seniors? We'll see if I can get them to talk. I don't know. And if you do, please chat. We'd love to talk to you and hear what you have to say too and think about your questions. Okay, so I have put together some slides and some information about like what I think might be helpful with senioritis and also some ideas about like maybe some home housekeeping things you might need to do to make sure you're doing as a second semester senior, because it's not all done. There's still stuff you got to do, as you know. So we're going to talk about that for a minute and I'm just going to show you. So how to cure your senioritis and a little bit of housekeeping for us. So first, I just want to talk about this housekeeping. And so, Lily, I know that you and I have worked on this a lot, and Mia, you haven't needed, you've kind of done it, I'm sure, but still make sure you're checking your portals to make sure everything is turned in. And sometimes they'll put updates or notes in your portals and you haven't checked it. So be sure you do that. Make sure that like you're keeping up with your portals, like at least once a week or once every couple of weeks, you just go through them all and see where you are. If the colleges consider interest, you still need to stay engaged with them. So you can find out whether they consider interest just by Googling, common data set or interest or going to my website, but you can find that easily and then just kind of like stay engaged. Don't just check out from them. If they don't consider interest, it doesn't matter. If you were deferred from any schools you're, in early, then you can write your letter of continued interest. I don't think either of you were you? No, but there are lots of kids who were. Do you still have interviews coming up or are y'all done with your interviews?
Yeah, I have some interviews coming up.
Okay.
I don't have any planned, but I'll probably have more down the road.
Yeah. So be sure that you're checking your voicemails, checking your email for interviews. Don't let those slide by, because I cannot tell you how often I hear from alumni interviewers and also admissions people who are saying, I tried to reach this kid, but I couldn't reach them. So be sure you're checking your spam emails, be sure you're looking for those. And then, we've talked about interviews before, I think, where we talked about this little invisible backpack and thinking of your stories and what you want to share with your interviewer. And then updates. And this is something a lot of kids don't think about. But if you have updates that you want to send to colleges, if there's something new in your application that is that like they don't know, so like if you've added an extracurricular or any kind of update that you want to share with them about something that's important to you or important about you that they won't know because you already turned in your application, you can do that. And I suggest doing it around mid-February. And it's just a simple, casual, short little email where you just say, hey, love your school, so excited about applying, and here's what's been going on with me over the last 6 weeks since I applied, if you have updates that you want to share. And actually, I don't know what that says behind there. Oh, what does that say? Oh, college list. There you go. It's behind. I got to remember that when I'm making my slides. And so college list, if you, and I think you guys are okay, but for a lot of you out there, if you're not happy with your list yet, there are still lots and lots and lots of colleges who are accepting applications. February 1st, February 15th, March 1st, March 15th, and so on, all the way through the summer. You can find my post about that both on my website, admissionsmom.college, and my blog, or on Reddit or on Instagram, actually. But I've given some colleges that I really love personally that are still accepting applications. So if you're not happy with your list, if things didn't go well in first semester with early applications, or if you're just kind of a late starter, a procrastinator, and you're just getting around to it, it's not too late. There are still lots and lots of places to apply. So, but now I just want to talk about like senioritis. I just had to get the housekeeping things out of the way. So, it'd be really nice. And I'm hearing from lots of kids that like, I just don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go to class. I'm so tired of this, just constant work. I just need a break. And I think what I want to say is, yeah, it would be really nice if there was something really simple that you could do, but really it requires, like everything college admissions, kind of checking in with yourself and figuring out what's important to you, and just not like allowing yourself to sit on social media all day or Netflix binge, even though sometimes that's what's good for you. So, and this kind of goes back to what you were talking about, Mia, earlier. Embrace the not knowing. And this is part of life. But I think this part of college admissions is really where you really start to understand it and see it. Like, no matter what life is going to do, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you never know where life is going to take you. But right now, you really don't know. Like, you've done all this work and you've put something in. And so just embrace that not knowing and know that no matter where you end up going to college, even if none of your favorites work out for you, you're going to be okay. And I know you two are going to be just fine because you've got great colleges you've already been accepted to. But like, even those of you who haven't had that yet, you're going to be okay. And Lily, tell me a little bit, like, talk to me about this. Is this a scary feeling for you, or you're kind of just like, I mean, you're a philosopher, right? So like, how do you use philosophy to help you with this?
Okay, so yeah, this is definitely a very big like change. Because like, I mean, not even just high school, but just like my entire school experience, like middle school and everything. It's not necessarily easy, but like pretty much what's gonna happen. Like you get graded on certain things, like it's all pretty much the same. And then all of a sudden you're put into a situation where it's like I put in a bunch of work and I don't know, something will happen.
Yeah.
So it's kind for me it is a very strange feeling, but I guess I've kind of just managed to find a way to not get too worried about it. Like for me that kind of just involves not overthinking it, because when I get to the point where I'm like I know I have like no other work to do, I'm just like I'm not even really thinking about it anymore. I mean, a big part of that is because I have a lot of other school assignments that I have to do, but it's also just like, I mean, there's nothing I can do to control it, so worrying about it really doesn't help anything, and I just kind of get anxious for no reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's
No, that's
basically
right. I
that
mean, I
for me.
think in the anxiety, that word is key. I mean, it really does cause anxiety. Mia, I
Yeah.
saw you shaking your head a few times. Did you have something you want to add?
No, honestly, I think, yeah, it's just realizing, I know it's easier said than done, but realizing that your emotions, if however negative they are, aren't going to impact that much of a process. But if you do keep a good attitude and you're still present in the process, like basically doing your housekeeping tasks, but also just finding the time to make time for yourself, your friends, your family, it's going to have the best long term outcome for you, because regardless of what college decisions, how they come out, you're going to have the same outlook going into the summer, kind of anticipating starting the school year. And so I think it's just great to try to keep a positive attitude, regardless of the outcome. And obviously, it's easier said than done, but just whatever works for you, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. And so we have I'm going to put this up here. So Lindsay in our chat wrote, so hard for seniors to jump straight from college apps to finals to standardized testing to decisions. It's a lot. We get it. There's no other time in your life quite like this. I like that. Like, you're never going to get this second semester senior year back, and use your support. So that's great. Lindsay, are you in college admissions, or are you a parent? Are you a kid, or you want to share that? But that's all really great advice. And I'll be coming around to a lot of that later, but I love the way you articulated that. Thank you so much. So the next I talk about taking a break. And I think this is important. And I think sometimes when you've been working so hard and moving so much and so fast and like just got to get this done, checklist, you feel like when you're taking a break that what the break is like wrong or bad, because like you're not used to it and it feels uncomfortable. So, and I wrote here, like, your brain needs a break at times. It's been going full on probably since always, right? Like, as long as you can remember, I knowing the two of you, you've been thinking and planning and learning, and, like, it's okay to just stop and recharge, right? And to just allow yourself to sit. And if you need to sit and do nothing, or hang out on Spotify a little bit, or read a book or Netflix, or Lily, I know you really like music too. And so whatever you need to do to take a break. So what are you doing? Mia, I'll start with you this time. What are you doing to take a break? How are you allowing yourself, or are you? And if not, what will you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm a very routine oriented person. So I think I kind of have to interweave those breaks into my days ahead of time. And so I think I always, my cool down routine kind of at night before I sleep always involves, like, I like doing my skincare routine. I like doing my hair care routine. And then I like to honestly just spend time on my laptop. And I use Google Chrome for my school stuff and Safari for my personal stuff. And I think it's like a silly way to compartmentalize, but I think it's really effective for me. And I use Safari, and I just go on Pinterest, or I use Spotify, and I just do the little tasks that make me happy. And sometimes it changes every day, but I just like to have designated spaces, or like times literally, to kind of have separated time, whether it's from other people or just like my schoolwork or really intensive tasks. So I think just having like that distinction, however that means for the listeners, is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I love that you have your little routines, and I know you're super routine oriented. So it's good that you make the taking breaks part of your routine. And I think that's important. I also do that. I make sure that I go for a really long walk every day, no matter how busy I am. And I make sure I do yoga every day, no matter how busy I am. I mean, that is just as important to me as doing my writing, as seeing my students. It's like, because if I don't do those things, then I'm not going to be as good at my job. What about you, Lily? What are you doing to take a break, or what do you plan to do to take a break if you haven't done it yet?
My experience is definitely pretty similar. I am a very category, kind of. I do like routines. I don't necessarily plan them very well all the time, but I do like being organized. It helps me get stuff done a lot faster. And I do the same thing where I have Google Chrome for my work stuff, and then I use Firefox for everything else. And I also usually work. There's kind of like an office area in my house, and that's usually where I do like my homework and project work and stuff. And then when I'm in my room, I am usually not being not doing schoolwork and stuff. So that's a very easy way for me to put those into different environments. So I kind of just associate one kind of area with, okay, I'm done, I can take a break and not have to worry about work. And then another time where it's like, okay, I'll work, I'll do it for a certain amount of time, and then I'll go somewhere else to take a break.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And I'm just gonna put something that Lindsay also put up here. Let's see. Oh no, I meant to that. There we go. So Lindsay, thank you so much for being with us again. And for she said I'm not putting this up there, but she said that she's an IEC, so she's an independent consultant like I am. And she loves my content on Instagram and Reddit. So that's very nice. Thank you. But this is a great thought. It's so important for our students to be human beings and be mindful throughout this process. And as you guys know, because of working with me, like that's like my main goal is like this college admissions experience, even second semester senior year, is about more than where you go to college. It's about like learning about yourself, learning to take care of yourself, as we talked about, Mia, and just kind of like learning to like do this intentionally. Don't just go through the motions, right? So thank you,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Could I just add something really
Yeah,
quickly based off of that?
please do. Yeah.
So definitely that has been my experience, like working through the college apps. With a lot of the work that I do, it's kind of felt like almost mechanical. Like they give me an
Mhm.
assignment and I give them what they tell me to do. But this time it's been like a lot more personal. I felt like I'm just kind of doing stuff. And even though there's obviously like regulations and stuff for the essays, like there's different prompts, I felt like I've had a lot of control. And I think that's like, I don't know. That just feels to me like the best way to do it. Like similarly to how you might not necessarily have control of where you get in, not completely at least, but like wherever you get in, it's a lot of it is up to you to make sure that you can have a like good time, like make sure that you're enjoying yourself and making sure that you're getting what you want to get done, even if you don't get into like that one school that's perfect. Like it's very likely you'll still have a good college experience. And
100%.
seeing it as like a way, like a process for you to just kind of just grow and enjoy yourself, I think makes it just a lot more enjoyable and a lot more just better, I think,
Yeah.
than seeing it as just like, oh, I have to do this and this work to get
Mhm.
into my dream college.
Yeah. Instead of just seeing it as a task. All right. So the next thing is keep up your grades. I know you probably don't want to hear this one, but there's a couple of reasons. First of all, you don't want your grades to tank so much, and I'm not worried about either of you. But if your grades really tank, there is the risk of getting rescinded from schools where you've already been accepted. Very rare, and I'm going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks in much more detail. But another really good incentivizing reason to keep your grades up is because lots of colleges go to waitlist now. And if you're waitlisted and you want to continue to, be considered at that college, you do need to keep your grades up. They don't want to see that you've slacked off senior year. So it is important to keep your grades up. And so I'm not even going to talk too much about that one unless y'all have something you want to say about it. Move on. Let's just, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have
Okay.
anything to say about that.
Yeah. So, and this is another important one. And I think and I'm not sure that this applies to either of you, but if you're out there and your life is getting messy, and gosh knows during COVID, life is getting messy for a lot of kids. I can't tell you how many kids I talk to on Reddit or Instagram who contact me and like they're trying to finish up their applications while caring for their sick grandparents while, trying to work a job because their parents can't work right now. And so if your life is getting messy for whatever reason, or if it's your mental health or your family or all sorts of reasons, then let the colleges know. Don't run away from that. It's because if your grades, especially if your grades are going down because your life is getting messy, don't run away from it. Take it head on. Send them an email, explain the situation. They want to know, they want to understand. So I'm going to skip over that one too. And I don't think either of you are super involved in social media, are you?
No, I don't have.
No, not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I know you're not. But don't go crazy on social media. I have worked with families and kids in the past who have been rescinded because of social media actions. So, just be who you are, be a nice person. I wrote now, put kindness first in your life. And if you're putting kindness first, you're not going to do anything that's going to have you get in trouble on social media. So connect with family and friends. And this is what something that Lindsay brought up too, is like use your support system. And one of y'all mentioned this. Oh, I think Lily, you did talked about your friends and relying on your friends. And even if you're having to social distance, Mia, are y'all back in school? Are you?
Oh, yeah, and it's awful. There is when we first came back from break, we had about a 40% attendance school-wide. People are back now, but people are out all the time because of COVID. But because of the area we're in, I don't think it's going to get canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lily, y'all are back, right? Or not?
Yeah, we are back in person.
Yeah.
We shut down for 2 days after the break. I think it was just to
Okay.
see if anyone had COVID, but
Yeah.
I'm not expecting us to shut down again. But I don't know, who knows? But we're in person for now.
Okay. So, I'm not sure how comfortable you are being around other people or not, but definitely still use your friends, support systems, see each other outside. You both live in nice, warm areas, so you can do that. Do Zoom, but just kind of like make sure you create that support system. Don't just like go into hiding. It's important now. And this is this is one that I always feel better when I don't have like a bunch of garbage around me. Like I personally need a neat space to be able to work, but I think for a lot of us it's just easier to get up and do things when your room is a little tidy. And so, make your bed, clean up the garbage off your floor. If you have it, you probably don't. Take your dirty dishes out of your bedroom and put them in the dishwasher, wipe up sticky surfaces. So it kind of just feels better. And just to give you a space to kind of think and be as you move forward. And read books. Now, I know both of you are big readers. So, and I didn't actually give any suggestions, but sometimes some kids haven't had time to read books or they haven't really gotten into the habit of it yet. And here's what I want to say about reading. I was an English major. I've been reading my whole life. I was that kid who had the flashlight under the covers, reading after my mom told me to go to sleep. But reading really does, especially fiction, but even nonfiction, it allows you to see the world from the perspective of somebody else. And being able to see the perspective of somebody else helps you in so many ways in life, particularly in writing, but also in all sorts of other ways, and like understanding other people and understanding where they come from. So I would love for you, Mia and Lily, and I'll start with you, Lily, on this one. What are some books that you enjoy reading, or do you have any? I know you like read really like esoteric philosophy books, but and you can talk about those too. Maybe there are people out there who want to read those, but also, are there any other books that you might recommend, or that you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually reread books, but some that I found really interesting. Some of the ones that I've read for school were actually super super interesting. Um, so I remember reading like The Bluest Eye, which is
Mm-hmm,
about like I mean, there's not really a main character, but a lot of it is like the general themes are about like beauty standards and how they relate to like race in the United States. And it's really interesting just hearing that whole kind of perspective, because a lot of that kind of stuff is something that I don't really think about, like as a white person, for example. Um, and just gaining knowledge into that new perspective is definitely interesting, and also it's a fantastically written book. The other thing I think that you were mentioning seeing stuff from other people's perspectives
mm-hmm,
is that like philosophy has actually been a very good way to do that for me,
mm-hmm,
because a lot of it is kind of just like an author writing about their thoughts, and
mm-hmm,
especially the ones that are known about and have like very unique ideas. You just read it and you're like, this is the only book like this in the world. Like
mm-hmm.
other books might be kind of written the same way, but like the topics, the way of looking at the world, this is completely unique, and it just like can totally change the way you look at things. Like I don't know, like in all areas of life. and it just depends on like what you read and what you get from it and stuff. So that's been one way to do that for me.
Do you have a favorite that you can suggest to people?
I guess the one that I guess I would say was really interesting was Nietzsche's Das Volk Zarathustra, because it's a very like it's very unique. Like I've never heard anyone talk about the ideas the way he does. Like the way he's like just covering all sorts of different things, and he covers all types of different perspectives, and he's like, oh, you have to like, I mean, it's hard for me to summarize the themes because it is very all over the place. But I think, given the fact that it covers so many things and it covers them in a super interesting way, a lot of different people can read the book and take a lot of different things from it, and that was, I think, what he was going for. And I think, I mean, Nietzsche in general, but that book definitely can just give you a lot of inspiration. It's also like kind of like literature. It's not as much just dense philosophy. So if you like that kind of thing, then that'll be enjoyable to you as well.
Just put the names of those 2 books in the chat. So for those of you, even if you're watching in the future, you get to see the chat as we talk, so you can see those. Okay, cool. And Mia, what about you? Do you have any favorites or
I'm
things that you want to read?
indecisive, but I'll share what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
I'm reading Grendel by Gardner. I don't know his first name.
Can you spell that for me?
Yeah, Grendel, Grendel. And I think it might be John Gardner, but yeah,
Okay.
it will come up. It's the only book. It's a story from Beowulf, the villain Grendel. It does exactly what you were saying about the alternate perspective kind of thing, broadening your horizons that way. So he's a monster. He
wow.
is known for being an antagonist and threatening the population of, I think, Denmark. But it kind of shows, once we hear about actually his thought process, which they didn't do in Beowulf, he kind of learns he's just thinking of the underdog in a lot of situations. Like when a bird falls out of the tree, he says, well, what about the fox? The fox won't be able to eat if I put it back in the tree. And so I think just kind of looking for those connections in literature can actually be one of the most interesting things you can do. And like when you're analyzing the characters, just their interactions with the world around them and how they view the idea of good and evil has been something that's kind of been a theme. We can do any topic for our AP Lit class, like for each of our term papers. And so that's kind of something I've been analyzing throughout the papers I've written so far. And so I think it's really interesting, and it's not something I think I've done in any English class before. And it's great to do that with like books I get to choose.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to look up that book. And Lindsay just put some books up here too. I'm going to show y'all. Maybe you want to add these to your list. Blessed Be Ultima, Educated, Long Way Down, Parable of the Sower, I guess. Out of those 4, I've only read Educated. So I'm going to be looking for all of those, Lindsay. Thank you. I'm reading a book right now. I just started it yesterday, called Crying in H Mart. And it's about, it's written first person. It's very much like a personal essay. It's actually really interesting, but it's a whole novel. And she is half Korean, half American young woman whose mother dies when she's really like 25, I think, and kind of like remembering her mother through shopping at H Mart, which is kind of an Asian grocery store. It's really, really interesting. And I love her voice. Okay, learn something new. So this might be the time in your life, if you've never picked up guitar or learned coding or Italian or whatever it is, like you've said, I've always wanted to do this, but I haven't had time. Maybe you have the time right now, maybe you do. And so kind of like be thinking about like, maybe there's something new you could do. What about you, Mia? Any thoughts of anything that you might like to try, something new?
I think maybe picking up some old hobbies
Good.
might be of interest to me. I think it's not something I've given a lot of thought, but a lot of the things I did in middle school kind of went into a pause because I kind of wanted to formalize my extracurriculars as I moved into high school. And so the things I didn't necessarily want to keep as informal hobbies, I kind of dropped. And so like I used to play a lot of instruments, and I haven't done that recently. And I just actually started dancing more intensively. I've always done it as like a hobby, like my entire life. I was competitive until I started high school. And so I've been doing it more recently, and it's made me happy. So I think just looking into the things that used to make you happy in general usually at least brings out your inner child.
I think that's a great addition to, what I've said. I've learned something new. And I think also, or getting in touch with something that you kind of put aside for a little while. Yeah, that's great. What about you, Lily? Anything you'd like to try new or get in touch with something from the
Yeah,
past?
I mean, reading is something that I've gotten back into semi recently
Mhm.
because kind of the same as you, I used to be super into reading. Um, like I would read so many books. Like I would always, we had like the pizza, whatever, the
Yeah.
summer reading thing,
Yeah.
pizza party, and I would always put like too many books because I realized I read more than when they asked. Um,
Yeah.
and like that's something that just stopped in middle school and the first two, maybe three, 2.5 probably years of high school. So getting back into that was definitely super interesting. It kind of just goes along with that whole like the whole like looking at this period of just
Mhm.
like a totally different time, like way that you're experiencing things, and you're just looking at like what is it that you value the most. So for me, definitely getting back into reading has been super fulfilling.
Yeah, great.
I remembered how much I like reading, so that's been super nice. I have kind of been wanting to learn guitar, like,
Hmm.
or drums maybe for a while. So I don't know, could do that, or maybe I'll pick it up in college. I'm not sure.
Okay, so before I get to the next slide, I know both Lily and Mia, I told you that we'd be done at 6:45. Do you need to leave or do you have like 10 more minutes? What about you,
No,
Mia?
I don't have anything, so I
Yeah, I
can
can
stay
do
on.
10 more minutes.
Okay, cool. Then we'll keep going with this. If not, I was going to stop. But great. Thank you for your flexibility. So this is when the like I have an amazing yoga teacher, Carolina. If you ever watch this, this is about you. Um, so this is something that she kind of talks to us a lot about during yoga. And it's like, especially during stressful times of life, like to collect the moments of joy, even if your life is really shitty and sucky and it feels like nothing is going right, there are moments, like maybe they're just an instant, a beautiful sky that you glance up and look at, or maybe somebody said something nice to you or whatever. So just like find those little moments and be aware of them, like be aware that no matter how bad life is, there's going to be something probably, that's good, even if it's a flash of it. And sometimes that can be a really important reminder of what's good. I think both of you have keyed into things that you really like and you could know how to do that. But it's just something, and also just to kind of think about in general.
Oh
Go ahead.
yeah, can I just yeah, that's definitely a big thing for me because for a while, um, I was just like, "Oh, there's work, and there's just always more work." And I'm like, "I
Yeah,
get this thing done, it's like a hydra, like, there's just 2 more things that pop up, and then just more
exactly.
and more and more and more and more." And, like, just having moments where sometimes I can kinda just forget about that stuff and just kind of, like, exist in a happy moment, it's like I remember why I'm doing all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's even if it's like just a tiny bit, it's like so much bigger than like just the mountain of everything that you have to do. Like for me that's kind of just when I stop overthinking about stuff and I'm just doing something that I like without like overthinking or thinking about work
Hmm.
while I'm doing it, I can just kind of like exist.
Yeah.
It's that's a really nice feeling and that's definitely like a big part of like just what's keeping me going.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I had a student who wrote her personal essay about the simple things, and basically that's what it was. Her entire essay was about like kind of finding the simple moments in her life. The ray of sun coming down on her when she was studying, or that a friend shared a sandwich at lunch, or just like the little things that kind of you kind of just like look over and then taking a minute. So I think those are great points. Um, And then this is kind of like what we've been talking about all together, but this semester is really like a gift, right? Like it's kind of like one of the only times in your life that you're not going to have, you have to keep up your grades, obviously, and you don't misbehave on social media. But, it's kind of going to be one of the only times that really is just for you, that it's just like you're not working towards something, because once you get into college, it's going to start over again. Like have to make good grades so that I can get a job or go to grad school or, the future of whatever. So this is like a special semester. It's like really a special semester of when you can just sit back, collect those moments of joy, get in touch with what you had let go of or find something new. And then, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I've been talking a lot and thinking a lot about like how I spend time versus investing my time. And so spending time to me is like when I just kind of sit down and mindlessly watch Netflix, but I don't really care what I'm watching. Or investing my time is thinking about my business, thinking about how I want to help kids, thinking about my family. But sometimes investing my time can be sitting down and watching Netflix because I know I need that. I know I need to turn my brain off. My brain is going a mile a minute all the time, thinking about all these things I want to do. And sometimes I need to sit down and do nothing and maybe watch a show or watch Jeopardy or, whatever it is. So what about you? Can you think of like one way that you spend your time kind of mindlessly and then another way that you invest your time? Anybody have a thought?
That's a great question. Okay, I think the intentions behind an activity can basically categorize an activity as both. And
Yeah.
so I feel like oftentimes, like, whether I'm like, I like cooking. And so, like, whether I'm like grazing the kitchen and like throwing things together versus whether I'm inviting friends over for a meal can represent like the spending and investing time, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think putting intention into a lot of the activities you do and like kind of looking at the mundane things that you basically do every single day and kind of understanding how can I make this intentional? How can this be shared? How can I make this meaningful and something that can grow into something, I guess, greater than what it already is, can kind of transform it into an investment of your time in a lot of ways. And so I would say, I think it's a great thing to think about, but I would say like cooking meals would be like a great example of something that I can make kind of meaningless or meaningful depending on kind of the thought process I put behind it.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. What about you, Lily? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I do is like taking walks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it does kind of end up being more of an investing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so during like COVID, just because like being stuck inside and all that. But like just kind of walking outside and just walking around, like not thinking about the rest of the stuff that I have to do, like just kind of existing and just kind of thinking, like that feels to me a lot more like investing my time, where it's like I am just like making myself better, like I'm taking care of myself, versus
Good.
like when I'll walk around because like my routine or whatever, and it's not like I necessarily like, it's not like I don't like doing it or whatever, but like I'm just doing it because like I know I should, versus like, oh, I'm putting energy into this and like getting as much out of it as I can.
Yeah, walking is a perfect one too, and cooking. So, for those of you out there, if anybody's out there who you're just kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed by senioritis, here are just some suggestions that I've seen and kind of collected over the past few years of like things you can do, like when you really just don't want to get out of bed, and when you're just feeling so like to get your kind of like wake your senses up. Basically, you can take a cold shower, blast your music, and dance. Get your body moving. Sing, like something about singing just kind of innately makes you feel better. Bake something like Mia was talking about, where like intentionally, and so you can get the smells and the movement in your body. Drink a glass of cold water, put on scented lotion, and go for a walk, which Lily was talking about. Another also doing it kind of intentionally and thinking about it. And I just kind of threw those in there in case there are any of you out there who are just kind of feeling like, oh God, I just like don't want to move. I can't do anything. So sometimes it takes just doing one of these little things will get you up and going. And when you're finding yourself in the moment, overwhelmed, and we all do. So here's something that I like to do with myself. And like when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, like I can't like really focus on what's happening because I'm like so many ideas and emotions are going through my head. And so ground yourself in the moment by listing like 5 things you can see. So just like things around you that you can see. And you just do this in your head. 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And that just like puts you in the present moment, because no matter how much we're worrying about college admissions, no matter how much we're thinking about like, am I going to get in? Am I not going to get in? Am I going to, all these things that you have no control over, they're also the only real thing you have is right now, this very moment. You can't control what's going to happen in your future or what you've already done in your past. All you have is right now. And so this is a good way to like ground yourself in the moment. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. We're not going to do that together because we're going to run out of time, but we were going to until I realized we were going to run out of time. So those of you who are experiencing senioritis, it is totally normal. You are not alone. This feeling of like, I can't control what's happening to me anymore. I might be so exhausted. Take time to recharge your batteries, keep up your grades, be nice to others, maybe try something new or reconnect with something old, and connect with yourself. And so I'm going to get rid of my slides now and learning how to do all this. Okay, good. Now, so we're back bigger. So thank you all for going through those with me and giving your amazing, amazing comments, and for sharing your perspectives with me. We're going to end by doing a really short 1-minute meditation. Carly, do you want to come on and join us? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, great. Yay. Carly's here. And those of you in the chat, if you want to do it with us, you can. So let me get my meditation bowl. Hold on 1 second. Oh, I have to show you also my new candle that I got for myself. Let's see. Can you see? It says, let's see. How do I get that? It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So important for you to know. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So this is the same meditation we did last week, Carly. It's called an equanimity meditation. And basically it's like kind of learning acceptance and about what you can control and what you can't control. And I have to think of the words right now of what it is. This is what it is. Okay, I got them. All right. So what I want you to do first is like, however you're sitting, just sit up nice and tall. And you want to think of the top of your head kind of being in one kind of, if you imagine, I'm going to get a little wooey here, but just bear with me. There's like a ray of light going from the top of your head all the way down to your chair, like in one straight line down your body. Okay. So nice and tall, supported back. And then your hands, you can do them one of 2 ways. You can either have them open here like this to be able to like accept energy or kind of like just show openness, or you can kind of clasp them down on your legs or wherever you want, just to kind of like ground yourself in yourself. Either one is fine, whatever works for you. Feet nice and flat on the floor. If you can do that. Can y'all hear me okay with my microphone? Okay, cool. So you're going to get in the position, and if you're comfortable closing your eyes, you can. And if you're not, you can leave them open. I'm going to get my timer going. And we're just going to do 1 minute. Let's see. Okay. Whenever you're ready, I'm going to hit my bowl, my meditation bowl. And when you're ready, just kind of listen to that. And then we're going to get started. And what I want you to do is repeat the words after me. So we're going to start. So I want you to repeat these words after me in your head, not out loud, and just for 1 minute. And then I want you to remember to breathe as we talk. So as you inhale, I want you to repeat after me, I am who I am. And This is what it is. May I accept things as they are. May I trust in the unfolding. I am who I am. This is what it is. May I accept things as they are. May I trust in the unfolding. I am who I am. This is what it is. May I accept things as they are. May I trust in the unfolding. Just take a few more breaths. Filling up your body with your air, and then letting it out. And then when I hit my bowl, when you hear my bowl again, I want you to hold on to the sound of my bowl as long as you can. And then when you can't hear it anymore, you can open your eyes and join me. Good, thank you. How was it? I know you told me you weren't experienced meditators. That was about a minute and a half.
It was good.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. We're going to do a little stretch. You always kind of stretch. So go ahead and stretch out a little bit, twist around. And so since my little tagline is, and maybe y'all can remember it, we talk about, this is Badass College Apps, where we talk about college admissions. Do you remember what we do next? And then we stop. Who knows?
And take a deep breath.
There you go. Thank you. And take a deep breath. So let's take our deep breath all together and then let it go. Thank you, Carly, for helping me and supporting me in the background and in the foreground. And thank you, Lily and Mia, for being here and sharing part of your story and your experience and giving some great advice too. I think that seniors out there who will be watching this in the future, or the juniors who are going to be watching this thinking about next semester, are going to have learned a lot from you. So I really, really appreciate it. And to all of you out there, if you're experiencing senioritis, know that you're not alone. Know that kind of thinking about this semester intentionally and going through some of those suggestions we talked about will make it, I hope, a little bit more bearable. And Lindsay, thank you so much for your help and your suggestions. And I see that you corrected Bless Me Ultima. So thank you very much. So I'm going to sign off now, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.